There comes a time in every soul's journey when silence feels heavy, when prayers feel unanswered, and the air between heaven and earth seems still. It is in that quiet that the Spirit whispers, "Child, place salt upon your tongue, and taste what I have hidden in plain sight." You see, salt is no ordinary thing. It is ancient, as old as the oceans that cradle the world. It has lived through floods and tears, through the sweat of laborers and the seasoning of sacred bread. Salt carries memory, the memory of preservation, the memory of covenant, the memory that what is pure can endure. When you place salt upon your tongue, it is not about flavor. It is about remembrance. It is about awakening the sacred power that lives in your words, because words, beloved words, are the bridges between thought and creation. Every syllable that leaves your mouth is a seed cast into the soil of eternity, and salt purifies the soil. The calling, dear heart, is not to taste salt for miracle's sake, but to let that small grain remind you, you are divine, you are sacred, you are chosen to speak light where darkness lingers. When you feel broken, when you cannot see tomorrow, the smallest act of remembrance can bring heaven rushing toward you. Salt upon the tongue is a whisper to your own spirit, "Wake up, the God in me is still alive." Now, think of it, salt never loses its essence. It can be washed, burned, crushed, but it remains salt. So it is with your soul. The world may bruise you, life may test you, but the divine fingerprint upon you does not fade. This is the meaning of the calling, to rise again, not by your strength, but by your remembrance, to call upon the Spirit within and say, "I am still here, I am still chosen, I am still salt." There is power when you recognize what you carry. When you speak with purity, your words heal. When you bless instead of curse, miracles unfold. When you remember that your tongue was created to speak life, you become a vessel of the Almighty's will. So the next time you feel weary, don't reach for noise, reach for stillness. Don't reach for fear, reach for faith. And as you whisper a prayer, imagine that grain of salt resting on your tongue, reminding you that even the smallest thing can carry divine purpose. God does not move only through thunder and flame. Sometimes, He moves through salt, through the simplicity of what we overlook, to awaken us to what we already are, His living miracle. So today, take a deep breath, close your eyes, and remember the salt, the symbol of your preservation, your endurance, your worth. Let it remind you that your words hold creation's power, and that when spoken in truth, they can call forth heaven itself. This is your calling, to taste the divine in the ordinary, to remember that you were born for more than survival, you were born to awaken. For the tongue that remembers its salt is the soul that remembers its God. A grain so small, yet mighty enough to shape the course of oceans and empires. It purifies, it preserves, it heals. Salt does not boast, but it changes everything it touches. It does not shout its presence, yet its absence is always felt. So it is with the Spirit of truth. So it is with the tongue that walks in purity. The meaning of salt, beloved, is purity. And purity is not perfection, no, it is intention. It is the daily choice to align your words with light instead of shadow, to let your mouth become a vessel of hope rather than harm. Every word you speak is like water touching the salt within you. It releases flavor, power, and memory. For the tongue was not made for bitterness. It was crafted for blessing. It was not formed for gossip, for hatred, or despair, but for truth, healing, and creation. When you speak, you prophesy your own path. When you declare love, peace follows. When you sow kindness, heaven leans closer. And when you speak with faith, mountains bow. The tongue, though small, holds the fire of creation itself. It can light the world, or it can burn it down. That is why the ancients compared it to salt, because salt preserves what is good and restrains what is spoiled. So too, the wise restrain their tongue, keeping its flavor, its sacred power, for what truly matters. Listen now, dear soul, your words are more than sound. They are instruments of alignment between heaven and earth. They carry vibration, energy, and intent. They can bless a stranger, lift a friend, or summon courage when fear tries to chain you. Do you not know that your Creator spoke the world into existence? He said, "Let there be." And there was. That same spark, that same divine breath, lives in you. When you speak in truth, you echo the language of God. When your tongue carries purity, your words become holy ground. But purity cannot dwell where bitterness reigns. So the journey of salt is also the journey of forgiveness. To purify your speech, you must first cleanse your heart. To heal the tongue, you must release the anger buried deep within. Only then can your words taste like life again. So take this moment, right here, right now, and ask yourself, what am I speaking into existence? Do my words heal or harm? Do they reflect faith or fear? Do they carry light or darkness? Remember this. Every time your tongue touches truth, you taste the divine. Every time you choose mercy over malice, you preserve your soul. And every time you silence a cruel thought and replace it with grace, the heavens open just a little wider. Salt teaches us that truth does not need to be loud to be powerful. It does not need to fight for attention, it simply is. In a world drowning in noise, the one who speaks with purity becomes unforgettable. So let your words be seasoned with kindness. Let your speech rise from compassion. Let every syllable you breathe carry the weight of grace. For when your tongue becomes pure, your life becomes powerful. And when your heart and your words walk in unity, miracles manifest. Be the salt, beloved, not the bitterness of the world, but the seasoning of heaven. Speak truth. Speak peace. Speak faith. For every word you release is a doorway to the divine, and when you do, you will find that even in silence, God still speaks through you. There is a fire that sleeps inside us all, a holy ember, waiting to breathe, waiting to burn, not to destroy, but to transform. It is the fire of divine speech, the living flame of faith that lives behind your tongue and inside your heart. This fire cannot be taught, it cannot be bought, nor borrowed. It awakens when the soul remembers who lit it, and when it awakens, words become something more. They cease to be sound, and start to become creation. The moment your words rise from truth, they become prayers. And when your prayers rise from faith, they become miracles. You see, there is a sacred rhythm between your mouth and your Maker. Every honest word is an offering, every whisper of hope a spark carried toward the heavens. And though the world may not hear it, the universe always does. Pause. The music softens. As if listening, when you speak with fear, your fire flickers. When you speak with love, your fire grows. When you speak with faith, your fire roars. And God, oh God, responds to the sound of fire. For He too is a consuming flame, and when your little spark reaches for His, He meets you halfway, turning whispers into wonders. The fire within is not about shouting your dreams into existence. It's about believing in them even when silence answers back. It's about speaking life when everything around you smells like ashes. It's about saying, I believe, even when you see no proof. Because faith is not sight, it is the language of divine fire. And your tongue, when aligned with heaven, speaks that language fluently. Think of it, how many times did you speak something small, and watch it become something great? A prayer for strength that became survival. A cry for peace that became stillness in the storm. A whisper of God, help me, that turned into a doorway you didn't expect. That's not coincidence, beloved. That's covenant. It's the fire within, responding to the fire above. Now, there will be moments when that flame feels dim, when your heart is tired, your voice weak, and your prayers sound like echoes in an empty room. But do not mistake stillness for absence. Do not mistake delay for denial. Sometimes God waits, not because He's far, but because He's building something stronger within you. In those moments, your words matter more than ever. Speak faith anyway. Declare healing anyway. Bless your enemies anyway. Because each word you release, seasoned with salt and carried by fire, travels farther than you imagine. The angels hear, the heavens record, and the universe shifts, ever so slightly, toward your belief. Music swells, faint choir joins warmth, power, hope. When you speak with faith, your words stop being human. They become instruments of divine will. They become light breaking through the fog of doubt. And they remind every dark thing in your path. You are not alone. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten, so feed your fire. Guard your words. And remember this truth, you are the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Between the prayer and the miracle. The fire within you is holy. Keep it alive with love. Tend it with truth. And watch as your words, your simple human words, become the brushstrokes of God's miracles. Because when your words burn with faith, your prayers don't just rise, they fly. And when they reach His throne, they come back as miracles. A word that sounds quiet, yet carries the thunder of heaven. It is not always sudden, not always seen. But when it begins, nothing stays the same. Miracles do not always come wrapped in glory. Sometimes, they arrive as whispers, as moments, as shifts in the unseen. And they come, beloved, when faith and integrity meet. When what you believe and what you live become one. For faith without integrity is noise without melody. It speaks of heaven but walks in shadow. But when faith stands tall beside integrity, heaven bows low to listen. You see, transformation is not just God changing your circumstance. It is God changing you, so that the circumstance no longer defines you. It is the rebirth of perception, the unveiling of divine strength that was hidden inside your weakness all along. There was a time when you spoke from fear, now you speak from faith. There was a time when you carried bitterness, now you carry blessing. There was a time when your words trembled, now they roar with truth. That, dear soul, is transformation. The miracle does not begin outside you, it begins within you. Music deepens slightly, heartbeat rhythm returns. When you choose to stand in integrity, to tell the truth even when lies would be easier, to forgive when anger feels more satisfying, to bless those who misunderstood you, you become an instrument of divine consistency. And God blesses consistency. He blesses hearts that do not waver when the wind howls. He blesses tongues that refuse to curse, even in pain. He blesses spirits that stay faithful when the world calls them foolish. Because the true miracle, the one that heaven celebrates, is not the parting of seas or the falling of fire. It is a human heart that chooses love again and again, even after being broken. Integrity is the soil where miracles root. Faith is the water that nourishes them. And your persistence, your choice to keep believing, is the sunlight that makes them grow. Every act of honesty, every moment of humility, every prayer whispered in the dark becomes a seed in the garden of your destiny. And when the season is right, oh beloved, it blooms. You will see doors open where there were only walls. You will find strength in the same place that once held sorrow. You will rise, not as who you were, but as who you were born to be, refined by the fire, washed by grace, seasoned, once again, with salt. Soft choir enters gentle, heavenly harmony. And when that moment comes, you will understand. The miracle was not in what changed around you, it was in what awakened inside you. Faith turned your pain into purpose. Integrity turned your trials into testimonies. And together, they wrote a new chapter in your soul's book of becoming. That is the transformation. It is not a single event. It is a sacred unfolding. It is God writing His signature on your spirit, saying, you are ready now. So walk forward, not as the wounded, but as the healed, not as the forgotten, but as the remembered, not as the seeker, but as the salt, pure, steady, divine. Your words have changed. Your heart has changed. Your fire still burns. And that, my friend, is the truest miracle of all. To be transformed from within, until your very presence becomes a living prayer. For when faith and integrity meet, heaven itself leans in to listen, and every angel whispers, this one has remembered who they are. And so, beloved, we arrive here, at the threshold of renewal, at the quiet dawn after the storm, where the fire within you no longer rages for survival, but burns with purpose. Steady and sure. You have walked through the silence. You have tasted the salt. You have felt the weight of transformation. And now you stand as what you were always meant to be, the salt of the earth. Salt, the symbol of purity, preservation and power. It seasons, it heals, it endures. So too, must you. To be the salt of the earth is to carry the memory of heaven into a world that has forgotten its flavor. It is to speak words that preserve truth in a time of confusion, to love in a season of indifference, to shine when others hide. You are not here by accident. You are a divine instrument, a vessel of glory. Through your voice, hope speaks. Through your hands, kindness touches. Through your faith, miracles breathe again. And when you live with that awareness, that every word, every gesture, every silent prayer is a thread woven into eternity, you begin to understand what it means to be renewed. Renewal is not the end of struggle. It is the awakening that comes after it. It is when your scars begin to shine instead of sting. It is when your tears water the ground where blessings bloom. You are not who you were when you began this journey. Your heart has stretched. Your fire has deepened. Your words now taste like heaven. The renewal is a sacred promise that no pain is wasted, that no prayer is unheard, that every grain of salt, every tear, every test has been refining you for this moment. Now the world awaits your light. Do not hide it. Do not dim it to make others comfortable. Shine boldly, not for praise, but for purpose. For the salt that loses its flavor loses its identity, but the salt that remains pure transforms everything it touches. Let your presence remind others of God's patience. Let your words remind them of His mercy. Let your life sing, not of perfection, but of grace. Because to be a vessel of God's glory is not to stand above others, it is to kneel beside them, to lift the weary, to comfort the broken, and to love without measure. Pause, the choir grows softer, like a final sunrise. You are the continuation of divine light on earth. Every time you choose forgiveness over fury, you echo the language of heaven. Every time you share hope instead of doubt, you restore the world's flavor, one heart at a time. So rise today with the strength of salt and the gentleness of grace. Speak words that build, heal, and awaken. Let every act of kindness be a sermon, and every breath a testimony that God still moves, still heals, still speaks through you. For you, beloved, are not ordinary. You are the salt of the earth. You are the vessel of His glory. You are the miracle walking dot, so go forth, renewed and ready. Let the world taste your faith. Let the heavens recognize your sound. And let your life be the evidence that when a soul remembers its salt, the whole earth tastes divine again. Be the salt, be the light, be the vessel, and let God's glory move through you, now and always.